Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, August 24th. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. A lot has happened since we hit stop on the end of Friday morning show. Buckeye Scoop beat writer Tony Gerdeman joins me this morning. He spent Friday morning at the Big Ten's office in lovely Rosemont, Illinois at a protest organized by parents of athletes in the conference. Tony, what was that like?
It was pretty interesting because nobody knew what to expect. We heard numbers for parents in terms of, maybe 100, 150 before Kevin Warren's letter. And then it was, very much quite fewer than that showed up. Probably, you could count around 24 to 30 parents ended up being there representing. There was an Illinois tennis mom that was the lone Illinois representative, but you had parents of a Wisconsin running back. It was mostly Iowa and Ohio State parents there, but they had got an opportunity to speak to reporters who cover this conference. They got to speak to reporters from WGN was there, other Chicago stations were there, and they were there pretty much all day, like doing reports from the site long after the demonstration was over. It was a new experience for me. I've never covered a protest, or and you and I had talked. We didn't know how long this was going to go. Mark and I had discussions because we were planning on going to see Caden Curry in Indianapolis later that night, and he was like, "Well, if this thing isn't over and we have to leave by 2:30, am I going to fly back home? Am I going to try to catch a ride from somebody?" So we had no idea what to expect, but it was very, very peaceful. There's a police presence there. They shut down some streets. That was the first thing we woke up to. Looked out the hotel window, and the street out front was cut off by a police van. There were Randy Wade was talking with police because he wanted to know where could they demonstrate, because they were not allowed to demonstrate on the Big Ten office's property.
Well, I mean, I guess that counts as some kind of interaction with Big Ten parents. So I guess that's a step in the right direction for the Big Ten office. It was the police, but still, it was someone in authority in Rosemont, Illinois. So that's something. As you said off the top of the show, we didn't know quite what to expect, but I think if you go back and listen to the show that Mark Givler and I did on Friday morning, Mark was assuming, well, we don't know what to expect, but we're pretty sure the Big Ten's not going to address this and just sort of continue hiding. And lo and behold, that is what they did. The Big Ten did not really directly address the protest in any way. So what is the next move for Randy Wade and the rest of the Ohio State football parents right now?
Well, it sounds like there is going to be a Saturday demonstration at Ohio Stadium, organized by the Ohio State parents. They want other parents of Big Ten programs to do the same at their respective campuses, and it sounds like that's going to happen. We're talking about it on a Monday morning, meaning there's going to be plenty of time to get people around to show up on a Saturday at, I think, 11 a.m. is what Randy had tweeted recently. And so it's plenty of time for parents in the area to show up. I'm sure some fans might show up as well. It's a more convenient time than 8 a.m. on a Friday with, a few days notice. Not everybody could do that. And even the ones who had planned to be there once that letter went out, they were kind of shot down a little bit and I guess decided not to. I'm still thinking there are people who wanted to get there who just couldn't because of traffic. As I said, there are, streets shut down all over the place. I do wonder, Sports Center was doing reports from there. I saw some mention of it. Did the Big Ten Network? I hadn't watched. Do you know if the Big Ten Network had any reports of
You
the
know,
demonstration?
that was not where I chose to look for my coverage of the event, but I have a sneaking suspicion if I had chosen to look there, that would not have been where I found the coverage of the event. There was definitely some pushback from people who were, I think, are tending to not be as sympathetic to the parents' cause as others may be. That oh, this is only a couple dozen people, and so therefore it really doesn't matter. And it's like, well, I mean, if a couple dozen people are willing to travel hundreds of miles on short notice on a weekday to show up at your workplace to tell you were doing a bad job, I mean, if that happened to me, I'd probably be a little freaked out if a couple dozen people did that. Showed up in front of my workplace and said, "Hey, We're just here to tell you you're bad at your job. The other thing that I found amusing, and I wish I could remember who this was, someone on Twitter pointed out it was extremely on brand that, all of these Ohio State football parents have driven from Ohio, and no one from Northwestern could be bothered to show up 10 minutes from their campus. It was all extremely on brand. So that covers, I guess, the protest. You addressed that. You kind of touched on this a little earlier. After that, you got to go cover some real live high school football Friday night. I bet that was just, it was an absolute delight to see that on my Twitter timeline Friday evening. I cannot imagine how much fun that was to just actually get to go watch real live football in the year of our Lord 2020. That must have been awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was illegal. I didn't even realize it was allowed to happen from what I've seen, but it was really nice. And we got there. We were told that it wasn't going to be a close game, and it sure wasn't. I think the final was like 56-14 or something. But we did go see 4-star defensive lineman Caden Curry. They even have a quarterback that is talking to Ohio State who looked pretty good. But Curry, yeah, this is my first time. I hadn't watched really much highlights of him, but yeah, he was impressive. He was playing inside at defensive tackle and was fast, showed good burst, but just being there, you're right, Tom. It was nice to kind of do my job and go watch football, go cover football, read about it, write about it. And, so we were, Mark was filming. I'm shooting with my phone, tweeting out highlights and just showing people that football is possible in this day and age. But yeah, Caden Curry, very impressive, played like 3 or 4 snaps in the second half, but in that first half had 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, blocked the first punt of the game, and then picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. And you can see all of those highlights on the front page of BuckeyeScoop.com.
Yeah, he is one of the top targets for Ohio State on defense in the class of 2022. And I mean, I have only watched little bits of his highlights before, and then was just kind of following along on Twitter on Friday night. And you guys were really only tweeting out something when he did something really spectacular. And it seemed like there was a new tweet about him about every 3 to 5 minutes during the first half. I mean, you mentioned it was probably a game that was not expected to be real close, but that very much looked like a high-end defensive one prospect going against a team of overmatched players. Like, you'll have those games where it's, it's a nothing game and it's the Ohio State Rutgers of high school football, but that's about what that should have looked like if for a guy who is the Larry Johnson defensive line mold to, that's what that player should look like against that kind of team.
Yeah, and this game was put together like a few days earlier because Warren Central was going to play Center Grove, but they couldn't because they had an outbreak. So this game was just put together a few days earlier. We got there, and one of the things they were doing before the game, they had senior day because they don't know how many games they're going to be able to play. So they got senior day out of the way so that they were sure to have it, which kind of tells you the age and that we're in right now with football. So, yeah, he was – it wasn't one of those things where he knew he was better than everybody, and if things didn't go right away, he would just stop pursuing. I mean, he's a guy that chases the ball. There were a time where he was playing nose tackle, got triple teamed, spun off of it, and still went after the ball, and he was chasing the ball to the sidelines, and that's from the middle of the field all the way to the sidelines. So it was good to see. You can see why Larry Johnson is very high on him. I know he's listed at 6'5", I think by 24/7, 6'4" by Rivals. He's closer to that 6'4" than he is that 6'5", and probably have to grow a little bit to hit that 6'4", and he's obviously going to have to put on some weight to play inside. But he is, when we talk to Larry Johnson, he likes those 3-tech pass rushers, and that's exactly what Caden Curry is.
And you and Mark Giveler got a chance to talk to Caden Curry after that game. What did he have to say to you guys after that performance?
Yeah, he actually mentioned that he had just gotten an offer from Clemson a day or two earlier, and that was pretty big news. But that he doesn't plan on committing before seeing anything. He wants to visit some places, so who knows when that is going to open up. But, yeah, he's in contact with Ohio State quite a bit, and obviously really likes them. His grandparents are like avid Buckeye fans. His parents, I believe, are probably Buckeye fans as well. And so, yeah, it's if you had to take the field or Ohio State in this one, I'd probably go with Ohio State for a lot of reasons, including location. He's not that far away, and Ohio State was in on him early. Now you're seeing these other big schools come in on him later, and we'll see how that goes. And who knows? Once the visits start, he may find something he likes. Clemson has a slide; it's pretty awesome.
I've heard about that. Yeah, just in the last week, he's landed offers from Clemson, Penn State, Florida, and Texas. So if Ohio State does land him, they will do it against some pretty stiff competition. Over the weekend, you also wrote something absolutely fascinating about a moment that happened at Ohio State football practice 3 years ago this week. It ended up completely rewriting college football history. But I mean, I remember at the time it didn't seem like that big of a deal. I mean, it was a story, but it wasn't. It was very much not the. This is about to change the entire world. Let people know a little bit about that story.
Yeah, it was August 21st, 2017. The day that will go down in infamy as that was the day Joe Burrow broke his hand in practice at Ohio State and ended the competition to be JT Barrett's backup, essentially. And so Dwayne Haskins took that role over as JT Barrett's backup. Joe Burrow missed the first three games with that injury, but there was no competition to be the backup after the broken hand because they had to prepare Haskins to play in case something happened to JT Barrett. And something did happen to JT Barrett a few months later at Michigan when he injured his knee and Dwayne Haskins came in, and that was pretty much the end of then the 2018 quarterback competition because there's almost nothing that Joe Burrow could do to erase what Dwayne Haskins did at Michigan. They were even throughout the 2018 spring competition. Urban Meyer declined to name a starter. Ryan Day didn't want to name a starter. We kind of expected that would happen. We talked about it many, many times that whole spring. And so when there was no starter named, yeah, Joe Burrow ended up at LSU where he was pretty good in 2018, really, really good in 2019. Dwayne Haskins, really, really good in 2018. Leaves early. Ohio State has a quarterback void in 2019. They somehow land Justin Fields, who transfers out of Georgia. And then this past year, those two, Burrow and Justin Fields, just lit it up in college football. And yeah, for one little broken hand, that was it was a big deal in that, hey, the backup quarterback just went down. But, oh, yeah, the other guy that they have as a backup quarterback is the quarterback that Urban Meyer said he's the most advanced high school passer he's ever seen. So, I don't recall, did anybody at the time write about how significant this was going to be in college football history over the next 4 years?
Yeah, I very clearly remember he hit it. He hit it on someone's helmet, right? Am I remembering that right?
I believe
That's how he
so.
broke it. I believe, yeah. So yeah, I very clearly remember this now. Yeah, I wrote an article, and the headline was Joe Burrow just hit his hand on the helmet. Here's what's about to happen: two, maybe three quarterbacks going in the first round of the next four drafts, tied to Ohio State, a school where Joe Burrow's never been. He's about to win a national championship, win a Heisman Trophy. Two Ohio State quarterbacks about to be Heisman finalists. Maybe Joe Burrow's going to have the single greatest season in college football history, and also raise $500,000 for a food bank in Appalachian, Ohio. Now that was a long headline, but I think as history has borne me out, that was all accurate, right? I mean, do you remember when I wrote that? I was not one of my better pieces, but a little bit prescient, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, the writing wasn't very good, but the headline and the prediction were spot on. Yes, you
Yeah,
are
I mean,
correct.
yeah, that's pretty much my brand. Yes. Tony, thank you for joining us this morning. You can find Tony's story at BuckeyeScoop.com. Strong recommendation that you check that story out. That was a very fun read. I saw the picture on the when it crossed when I loaded the site at some point this weekend. I was like, oh, I know what this is. This is a really good idea. Find that at BuckeyeScoop.com, as well as all of our other great reporting and insider analysis from our staff. You can also find all of our podcasts by searching for Buckeye Scoop on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, or your podcast platform of choice. While you're there, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Thank you guys for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow.